Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hallmark Guy Podcast. I am Baptiste, the Hallmark Guy, and today I'm going to recap and review a 2026 Hallmark Channel movie. We're going to talk about Kentucky Roses, which premiered on Saturday, May 2nd, 2026 at 8/7 Central on Hallmark Channel as the first new 2026 May for Moms movie. Can't believe it's already May. It's crazy. The movie starred Andrew Walker in making her Hallmark debut, Odette Anabo. I usually only give the names of the two leads, but I have to make an exception for another Hallmark debut, for someone I grew up watching on Girl Meets World, Payne Mayer. And we will talk about the actors more later. But first, let's start with a recap of the movie. In the movie, Sadie, played by Odette, works in the greenhouse of the Kentucky Derby. She also works at Delilah's, a very respected flower shop in Louisville. Flash, played by Andrew, is the son of the Derby's CEO. He tried to separate himself from his father and make a name for himself, and he's working on building projects like affordable housing. The storm rolls through Louisville a few days before the Derby and damages one of the spires. In the stands, I don't know if you call them stands at Churchill Downs, I guess. So Ash's dad kind of begs him to come home to work on it, which he ends up accepting after having a talk with his mom. On the first night, while she's working on the flowers in the field, Ash sees Sadie and they talk and watch fireworks together. Problem is, they don't get each other's names, but by luck, they keep running into each other. Sadie's dream is to have her own flower shop, so she works on perfecting her craft on the side. And Ash's mom sees her work and asks her to do the flowers for a charity event. She accepts without even knowing who she is, that she's Ash's mom, and that it is for one of the biggest events in town. But since it is only a few days before the Derby, no one has flowers available because all the roses are used for the Derby. So Ash takes her to his property to pick out wildflowers, and that is when she realizes who he is, and she's mad. But both of their respective parents tell them the story of their ancestors. Gloria, Gigi, Sadie's great grandmother, was in love and to be wed with Ash's uncle Lefty. But his family did not want someone from the greenhouse for him, so he had to give her up. And so after learning that story, Sadie and Ash make up. Ash continues to work on the repairs and grow closer to his dad. One of Sadie's mom's friends tells her that she won't get the roses in time for the Derby for the rose blanket and asks for her help. Sadie and Ash get flowers from his property, and Sadie is able to mobilize everyone in town to supply roses, and it is a success. The night before the Derby, Ash finds the original plans for the spires, along with the necklace his uncle had offered to Gigi, but she gave it back to him. Ash's family thought that Gigi was a gold digger and kept the necklace, so that rights out a wrong. He gives it to Sadie, and they kiss. And on the day of the Derby, Sadie's best friend Camilla's horse wins, and Ash is going to continue working in Louisville, and him and Sadie are in love. So we're going to start with what worked for me and what worked for me. I say it a lot, but I mean, it's always often true, but like, especially with this one, the cast. Of course, I love Andrew Walker. Who doesn't love the male face of Hallmark Channel, Andrew Walker? I think the guy with the most Hallmark acting credit to his name, probably, and one of the coolest and nicest dude. I've met him. Gosh, I can't even count now. But like, by the second, I mean, I met him in 2024, met him again in 2025. The second time I met him in 2025, we were just having conversations like, hey, how are you? How's the day? Like, such a nice guy, such a great dude. And I was so excited for Odette because I watched a show called Walker on the CW a few years ago. It was an amazing show. I was like it was inspired by Walker, Texas Ranger. And Odette was in it, and she was one of my favorites on the show. And I thought she was a perfect fit for Hallmark. And I thought at first, like, oh yeah, Odette's already been on Hallmark, but no. So now that she made it to Hallmark, I hope she stays on Hallmark and make like a lot more movies for Hallmark because she was great. The pairing with Andrew was great. I think they worked really well together. So yeah, like an amazing cast. And you had Payne Mayer from my I want to say childhood, but I was a teenager when the show came out. Girl Meets World on Disney Channel, gosh, premiered 12 years ago now. And a few days before, I didn't even know it was in the movie. And then Hallmark posted pictures of the cast a few days before the movie premiered. And I was like, no way, Payne Mayer's in this movie. Okay, we're getting an Andrew, Odette, huge event movie, and you had that guy that I watched on TV growing up. This is so cool. Love it. So, of course, the cast played a huge part in me loving the movie, but the story was really interesting. I think I didn't really know what the movie. You know what what I realized right now is I don't see a lot of the trailers, or I just maybe I don't remember them. I don't know. But so I went into the movie not really knowing what it was going to be about. I knew it was going to be at the Derby, and that was about it. There was going to be roses. Um, so I did, and people in love, but I didn't really know. But the story was pretty interesting, and what I liked is that it is set in the real world. I like that we're getting these events, these movies tied to real things. Like we got the Opry one, we get the even though they're fake stories, but they're tied to NFL teams. We get the football ones, which, by the way, why didn't they announce the one for Christmas yet? Last year they announced the Bills by now, I think. Which I think I know who which team it is because it apparently was kind of revealed on the cruise and someone told me. Um, my question is, since it hasn't been announced yet, are we getting another one? I don't know. Anyway, getting that's not related to what we're talking about. But I like that we're getting these movies that are set in real things that make it an even bigger event. So, like I said, we got the Opry, we got the Derby, we got the NFL teams. We're getting Disney for Christmas. I'm really curious to see how they're going to transpire that, how they're going to make it on screen, how it's going to look, and like that's something they could have done for Disney, could have done for Disney Plus. But yeah, so really excited when these movies happen, and especially when the movie premieres on the day of the Derby. I mean, that's of course they weren't going to have it premiere in another time, but like it's really cool. I didn't watch the Derby this year, but I usually watch the final race, you know, the big one, and like from people to have been able to like watch the Derby and then 30 minutes later transition to Hallmark and then get back into that world, what must have been pretty cool. So I like that it was tied to like the real event and that it aired on the day of the event. I talked earlier about the cast working well together. I think the chemistry was really good between Andrew and Odette. I think it worked really well. And it was a very romantic movie. I loved kind of their banter, and you can see that they were really interested in each other, kind of falling in love. It transpired really a lot through the screen, and I really liked that. And yeah, again, like it was filmed on location because it is one thing to tie it to a real event. It is another thing to shoot it there. Because of course they filmed the Opry at the Opry, they filmed Disney at Disney and all that, but like we're not safe one day from having something happen at a real place but not being shot there. Not necessarily with Hallmark, but in the I'm sure it has happened before with a movie that was supposed to take place somewhere and was like the place is such an integral part of the movie of the storyline, but it is not shot there. So I really appreciate that it was. They made the effort and end up doing it there. And I'll talk about something about related to that a little later in some things to point out. But that was work for me. Really strong movie. What I did not like, it wasn't a lot, but like although the past storyline kind of was interesting, I wasn't very interested in it because I wanted to see what was going on with Ash and Sadie, and I cared more about them. I think the past storyline wasn't really needed. Um, I'm trying to think, and maybe I need to watch it again. Like, yeah, he's looking for the blueprint for the spires and there's this necklace thing, but like I think he mentioned, and again I could be wrong, could have bad memory about it, but I think he mentions needing the original blueprint for the spires at the beginning once, but then kind of it seems like he figures it out pretty quickly. And like the necklace, sure it brings luck, but like I do not think that that storyline impacted, although them getting back together, like her kind of forgiving him. I do not think that it impacted the present so much that it was truly needed. Now I think that they're trying to do with these movies because these movies are so huge and they're events like movies like the Opry and like Kentucky Derby. They're huge and like they work well with the sentimental value added to it. So like the Opry went back in time and you had this past storyline. So like maybe they're trying to do like they're doing with other movies. I did not think it was necessary. It wasn't a huge deal. It was okay. It got us paying Mayer on a Hallmark movie. I was like, okay. And I thought also the way he kind of was included. in the movie, like, oh, we're just going, let me tell you that story. And then I don't know, it felt a little weird. Wasn't my favorite part of the movie, that part. But that was about the only thing that I did not like. So let's move on to some things to point out. And I have a few. One, I think well, I have two major things. The first major thing is that the major conflict that if you watch Hallmark and you watch it live, you know that at 8:40 p.m. if you're in East Coast or West Coast, or 7:40 if you're in Central, and I believe Mountain. I don't know if Mountain works that way for Hallmark, but you know that 40 minutes. Not did I say 7:40? 9:40 or 8:40. So 20 minutes before the end of the movie, and like two commercial breaks before the final two commercial breaks, kind of the big conflict, the major conflict between the two characters that's going to drive them apart for a little bit is going to happen. Like I used to be able to clock it, like it's going to happen. Oh, we're there. Let's go. The major conflict, although there was a kind of a smaller one later, but that kind of resolved almost instantly. The major conflict of her realizing that he was from the family, the son of the CEO of Churchill Downs, and that she was using proper flowers from his property to kind of sell to his mom. That major conflict, I think, came in just an hour in the movie. So like 40 minutes, including commercial breaks, 40 minutes before it usually does. So it's like, this is, they're kind of like trying to mess with us. So it was interesting that major conflict came in there. I do not mind it, even though I like having kind of my blueprint of what things can happen. I think every now and then it's cool because I like also like the movie. Then you kind of like relax. It's not when they're super stressful, but it's always kind of when they're mad at each other. So like once that's done and it's resolved, I'm like, okay, we can just fully enjoy the whole thing now and their relationship building, because you're always like, when they're building the relationship, you're always like, okay, at some point something's gonna happen. It's gonna be temporary, but something's gonna happen. So once that's passed, like, okay, let's have fun. So when another that was the first thing. Not a major thing. It's coming. When Sadie tried to kind of like mobilize people from this city to bring roses, she made a video for social media with Delilah, and the way Delilah did the video, it was sitting down like that, and you can see my hands like on her thighs like that, and like super stiff and like not smiling. And but in the end, she seemed really happy and like excited about what she was doing. But on screen, it looked like she was doing a video like for a ransom. She had been kidnapped, and I was asking for a ransom. It's like, this is really weird. That's the vibe I got. I got ransom video vibe with that video. But you know what? It worked. They got the roses, so I thought it was funny. Um, Very close up kiss, camera work. Let me do that sentence again. Very close up camera work for the kiss. We've got in there almost, which well, was fine. It's good, great kiss. We're like, oh, we're close this time. And the final thing, which is the second major things to point out, and that is actually my letterbox review, which now let me check if the numbers have changed, but I think my biggest letterbox review to date. It's it. Yeah, I was got one more. It sits at 9 likes for now. Um, last year, 364 days before Kentucky Roses premiered, because it was on May 3rd, on the day of the Derby as well. A movie called Hats Off to Love premiered. And in Hats Off to Love, it was about a hat. The hat, the Derby women wear hats, and like it's this whole thing. Like I don't really know how they call them, small hats. And so the movie was about a competition about like kind of designing the hats for the Derby, except they couldn't. And my guess is they couldn't use the words Kentucky Derby or kind of tie it to the Kentucky Derby. And my review was, I can't find it. Oh yeah, who would have thought that a movie about a hat competition at the Kentucky Derby, I mean the Louisville Derby, would be a good movie? And they kind of ruined it more with showing footage from the Tampa Bay Derby, which you can clearly see said Tampa Bay. but the whole time we're saying Louisville, playing a movie premiering on Derby Day at a Derby in Louisville, where Churchill Downs is, was the Kentucky Derby. And so my review for this year is a year ago they couldn't even say Kentucky Derby in Hats Off to Love, and now they have a whole movie. I yeah, sorry, my review got cut on my doc. Let me start over. A year ago, they couldn't even say Kentucky Derby and Hats Off to Love, and now they have a full movie taking place and being shot there. Oh, how far we have come! And yeah, look the in 364 days. Look the all the work that was done, and of course, I'm sure it was work, but all the how far we've come, really, it's just, really. And honestly, I think it's great. And maybe we needed Hats Off to Love to happen, probably to have Kentucky Derby, Kentucky Roses. So, but I thought it was uh, pretty funny to point out. So, final thoughts. I really enjoyed this movie. I wasn't sure between 3.4 or 3.5 and 4, but I give it a 4. And I think it is sitting, no, it is not. No, there are 4 movies. No, it is sitting pretty high. It's not the top of the 4 right now, which who would have thought? The first 2 movies at 4 are movies from the January movies, which is and I forgot how they call it now. It is called the travel something. Let me point out on Instagram. This is a disaster. Honestly, I don't know why you guys are still watching. It is called Winter Escape, which is insane. But Kentucky Derby right now sits at 4, right behind the Season to Blossom. So pretty high. And then you have 2 other movies sitting at with 4 stars behind it. So let's set it all on 4. Like I said earlier, I'll need more Odette on Hallmark. She's perfect. Bring us more Peyton Mayer, giving a leading role on Hallmark. I like when the people that I liked and kind of grew up with, and like people that I like their work and I've been fan of for a long time, kind of transition to Hallmark. It makes me excited because I like, oh yeah, I can get to see their work again and see their movies. And finally, I like how much of a big deal they made of this movie, and they made of movies that are the huge events, like they do for the NFL, like they did for the Opry, like they did for this one, and I'm sure like they're going to do for Disney. Um, I like that. Yeah, it is huge. It is tied to a huge, like, kind of property, like huge brand, and you're making a huge deal out of it, and I really like that. So that is it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of the movie. Like, subscribe, follow the Instagram at the Hallmark Guy Podcast, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.